like we can.
Hello and welcome to PBS Nature's YouTube channel. We are live today with some special guests, and I hear there's an even specialer guest who might be an animal joining us. We are live today from the world's largest wildlife corridor, which is an animal crossing over one of the busiest freeways in the country. I think Beth will correct me, but 300 to 400,000 cars a day.
You got it, Danielle. What busiest freeways in the world, I think.
Crazy. It's insane. And so they are here today to tell us about how animals can coexist and thrive in this very busy area of LA. And so we're joined today by Sarah Arnoff, who is the executive producer of Wild Hope from HHMI Tangled Bank Studios, and Beth Pratt, who is part of the National Wildlife Federation, I believe regional director, and Save LA Cougars. And Sarah, I want to throw to you, if you can tell us a little bit about, I posted the link in the chat here, but if you can tell us a little bit about kind of the Wild Hope episode, why you wanted to do this piece, how it fits into the Wild Hope mission, that would be great. Take it away.
I knew I wanted to do this episode when I met Beth Pratt on Zoom. I was like, she is amazing. She is enthusiastic. She just exudes passion.
Thank you. Most people call me goofy, but that was a really nice description.
Goofy,
yeah.
So I'm really proud of this episode. I am a little biased because I got to interview Beth and Steve and Jeff in the field and help produce it and put it together, but it's really good.
It's the best episode. I'm sorry. It's the best episode.
Right.
Yep.
And
people are crying. People email me. We cried after. I cried, and I'm part of the story. I knew how it ended, and I cried.
I got you to cry. I was really happy when I got you to cry. Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about our beloved P22, and this is an incredible story about how a mountain lion from Santa Monica Mountains, where we're standing from now, traversed two highways, the 101 and the 405, managed to end up in Griffith Park and lived there for 10 years.
10 years.
And it's amazing because it's the ultimate story of coexistence. People and mountain lions can coexist.
And they need to.
They need to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, it really shows that a city like Los Angeles rallied around a mountain lion, which is unheard of, and it's inspirational. And it really, unfortunately, his untimely death led to the building of this crossing, which is an incredible feat for not only mountain lions, but different wildlife. And we really understand that corridors and wildlife crossings are so imperative for conservation and wildlife around the world and in the States. And we see that in other episodes of Wild Hope. But Beth, when we last left the first episode of Wild Hope with P22 and yourself, you and the team were off on a grand road trip, and I heard that you're doing another road trip.
We're actually in the middle of Lake 2, but you're right. P22, I call him the Brad Pitt of mountain lions because he's handsome. Everybody loves him. Lives in Hollywood.
Stud.
But it's more than just sort of a celebrity following. P22 led, his plight of living on this island of habitat in the middle of the second largest city in the country led to the movement to build this. And that to me is what a legacy for this cat. As I told you, I got to spend time with him before, he was euthanized, and he was, in some respects, he was 12 years old, which is, really ancient for a mountain lion. And I promised him we'd do more, and we are. And that's what this road trip is. When last we were filming Wild Hope, our team and some of them you're going to meet, we're off from LA to Florida, a 3,000-mile road trip to look at where connectivity is needed. and also where connectivity is really good, like in Florida, we toured some crossings for the Florida Panther. In San Antonio, Texas, another large city, there's an amazing crossing in Phil Hardenberger Park. But yeah, we're on the California leg of the road trip. We put 2,000 miles on our car just to tell you how big California is. It's almost as big as the road trip across the country.
Wow.
Visiting crossings all over. From we were in Santa Cruz, and there's a crossing for mountain lions. It's done. It's an underpass
Fantastic.
on 17. We visited one of my favorite crossings, the Yosemite Toad Crossing on Sonora Pass. But we're also here to help build more. We launched this. I forget what day it was. I think it was maybe Tuesday with Secretary Wade Crowfoot, Director of Caltrans, Tony Tavares, and Governor Gavin Newsom himself is behind this new initiative we have with both the Wildlife Crossing Fund, which I also lead, and our new initiative is California Wildlife Reconnected. To the point, originally, he inspired this. We're going to build more crossings with this cooperative effort all across California.
Woo! And we have a special guest.
Special guest to just demonstrate the need for this, right?
Good. We have,
Talk to Danielle.
Danielle, we're good? Everything's okay?
Yes, I am
You know
pumped to
what? You
see
never
this
know.
special
Never know.
guest.
All right. We have a special guest
We
with us.
wanted to bring some wildlife and just show, to hear it from them,
We didn't
right?
hear it straight
Yeah,
from
we
the
want to hear it
wild.
straight from the
So
wild.
I hear we have a local mountain lion.
Yep.
Come on in.
Cue them up.
So
Bring him
let's see.
in.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
We got the local Santa Monica mountain lion, and we wanted to hear straight from him. How does it feel that this crossing is being built?
You put these barriers where we cannot cross without dying. Now you're giving us safe passage
Woo!
with the world's largest wildlife overpass. I can't thank you from everyone in the animal world. Thank you so much for doing this. And to the state of California and everyone involved, because as we've been driving around, we've seen that it's happening everywhere.
Steve, mountain lions
He-
don't drive.
I'm learning. P22 was a celebrity in the land of celebrities and got so many people in the greater LA area involved with loving wildlife.
How does it feel? Are you going to connect with your friends on the other side? You
I haven't seen them in so long. I don't even remember if I did see them in the first place.
Maybe you'll find a mate over there. You can have some babies. It'll be amazing.
How about you?
See how it
Mountain
goes.
lion, what is your name?
No,
Who is this? I think we need to reveal.
Yeah, who is
Yeah,
this?
who is this mountain lion?
Oh, it's Steve Winnick.
hi, everybody.
How did you get here?
Thank you all for coming and watching and being a part of Wild Hope. I was happy to be able to play the cougar because I wish that it didn't take 15 months to get that Hollywood cougar picture, thanks to the help of Jeff Sikich over here and P22 to actually come in front of the camera and light the fire that became all of it.
Woo, Steve.
How did it feel you took that photo? Can you tell us how you got that photo? A little bit about how long it took and what you and Jeff went through to get that famous photo?
Well, it went through the desire to tell a story in one image. That's what photography is all about. And Jeff telling me when I said what we needed to show urban wildlife was a picture of a mountain lion under the Hollywood sign. The fact that he said I was crazy
He did.
is like fuel on fire, because you got to get it done. And without his help, I live in New Jersey. We're moving to California. In a couple months.
California,
Yay.
baby! Woo!
But without his help, all the time, we would never have gotten this. And he finally found a spot. I had nothing to do with it. I just put the camera up and hoped for something. And we finally got the picture after 15 months.
Woo!
Because these animals don't care about these trail cameras. They just keep walking. You got one chance.
And Steve, I can't thank you enough because you and Jeff getting that shot. And listen, Steve is a National Geographic photographer. He does photos all over the world. But he also wants to protect cats. Him and his partner Sharon founded Big Cat Voices. You should check it out. And he let us use all his images of P22 for free. For free. And that is the photo that also helped get this build. It told the story. So thank you, Steve.
The bottom line with being a part of the media and things like this, what good are images and video if they aren't being used for a good cause?
Yes.
We need to create change. We need to give people a reason to care. And I got a feeling, P22, you did it.
Woo!
Thank you.
How does it feel? How does it feel to see the wildlife crossing being built?
That's what I said. P22 is so happy. Spirit of him and all the animals that they'll have safe passage and cross to the north. They can go all the way to San Jose if they want.
They know the way to
Because
San Jose.
they'll know the way. And it's across the Wallace Annenberg Wildlife Crossing. That's how you get to San Jose.
Oh.
And then there's a bunch more other roads in the way, but
We'll work on it. We're
We're
working on
working
it.
it. We're working on it. That's what this road trip is
we
for.
heard about that yesterday.
Thank you so much for coming and bringing
Thank you for having me.
P22. We appreciate it.
Anybody need a tail?
Yeah. Beth needs a tail. Yeah.
Oh wow! You know, Steve has been on the road trip with him and his wife Sharon. You know, they aren't just artists; they're advocates. I mean, they have their journalism and photos combined have inspired change, much like the Wallace Annenberg. So it's really fun to be on them with this road trip.
Yeah. Has he been taking photos of the different
Oh,
wildlife crossings?
I mean,
It's been
that's
awesome.
another thing. All of these photos he's taking, and he got. It's hard to say a photo of roadkill is good, but
Yeah.
he's gotten. We had a bobcat and elk roadkill on one of our stops. He got some really, hard but really powerful images to show the impact, right, of why we need these crossings. So yeah, all the photos he's taking on this trip, we're going to use to advocate for more crossings. Yep.
Amazing.
Woo! Yeah.
Well, we have another special guest.
We
with
do,
us.
yes.
Um,
not a cougar.
Not a
Yeah,
cougar,
not a cougar.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Jeff Sikich is here, and come on in, Jeff.
Woo!
Yay!
He.
Why, hello.
Why, hello. What do you have here?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, this is radio telemetry. I have a receiver and an H antenna here. So we have a number of mountain lions radio collared in the Santa Monica Mountains here and also north of the freeway. We're really interested in connectivity in the region. Oh, wow. And here's one right here. So with this antenna and receiver, I can see where they are in real time. But most importantly, that radio collar has GPS capabilities. It really pinpoints multiple times a day where these animals are. We can learn a lot from these radio collars.
Here is one.
Oh,
Look at that, magic.
here is one here. Yes.
Jeff, that is
And-
the collar I wear every year on the P22 hike that you put on me. Yeah.
Yes. So with these radio collars, we can learn a lot. So once we have an animal captured, whole workup process takes around an hour. We're very busy collecting biological samples, assessing the general health. But the main purpose is to place this GPS radio collar around the neck, and it will pinpoint around 8 times a day where that animal is, a time and date stamp. And we can really learn a lot about what they are doing in the area. And the radio collar also has a drop-off device, so if we never recapture that animal, it'll fall off. And also, very importantly, it has what we call a mortality signal. So if the collar doesn't move for 12 hours, it will send me a text message. Then we can go in there and collect it and see what that animal is.
I think the biggest question that a lot of people have is, how did your research, because you've been tracking mountain lions, and how long have you been tracking mountain lions for in these areas?
Yeah. So it's not just my research,
Yes, the
but
National Park
the
Service.
team, yes.
Yep.
We've been doing mountain lion research. I managed the field work for our long-term mountain lion study since 2002. And all of our research, not only on mountain lions, but also on other carnivores and smaller species, we have seen that fragmentation due to urbanization can have significant impacts on wildlife movement and survival. And this is especially true for mountain lions, which happen to be our last remaining large carnivore in the Santa Monica Mountains. So our research has documented very low genetic diversity, close inbreeding. We have started to recently see the physical effects of that low genetic diversity. So we like to say this crossing could not have come soon enough. And it's really a game changer for our area. It's not only going to save our small, isolated mountain lion population in the Santa Monica Mountains, but it's going to support the diversity of wildlife in the whole region.
And how did you know? Like, how did you and your team know that this was the best place to put the crossing? And will the mountain lions find it?
Yeah, so with the mountain lions in particular, with these GPS radio collars, we see where they are. And this is a natural pinch point here in Liberty Canyon. Leading up to the freeway on both sides is natural protected habitat. So we see this movement on both sides. Some animals make it across, some don't. But the important thing is most don't even attempt to cross. With over 350,000 vehicles a day on this freeway, most animals aren't even attempting to cross, and that's where we've seen the low genetic diversity.
And can you tell us do you have a moment with you and P22 that you remember that you can kind of share with our audience?
Oh, yeah, I've had many moments with him. For trying to photograph him with Steve Winter, and mainly trying to recapture him to replace those collars. I was able to recapture him 7 times, and each time he got smarter, 2-night techniques. And,
He did.
but overall, is just really seeing how the people of LA and beyond rallied around this individual lion. And he helped to tell this story that mountain lions are facing, not only mountain lions, but urban wildlife, across the nation. The need for connectivity, need for corridors, banning these anticoagulant rodenticides in these main areas.
And Sarah, I think it tells in Wild Hope. Jeff is the reason I got involved in the wildlife crossing. And he's a humble guy, but I just have to say, his research, he is groundbreaking. His and the National Park Services, and we've become friends over the years. But it really was that moment when I discovered P22, read about him in the LA Times, and Jeff was gracious enough. I really didn't believe that there was a mountain lion living there, and when I learned about his and his team's research and what these mountain lions were going through, I asked how I could help, and we joke about this as friends now. He's like, well, it's this kind of little wildlife crossing, and I'm like, how hard can it be? But I like to joke a lot, although it's not a joke. I like to make the scientists happy, and I think we made the scientists happy, right, Jeff?
Yeah, very happy. So yeah, we're extremely excited about the crossing, and especially as scientists, we've been monitoring this area for decades, and so we have a lot of pre-construction data right now.
Yep.
And so once the crossing gets built, and we're continuing to monitor the area now during construction, we'll be able to do the same type of monitoring post and see how effective that crossing is. Just the other day, so that hillside you can see right above the crossing. I've got a photo of an uncollared lion, a stone throw away from the crossing. I like to imagine, if it was there, that animal potentially would be used.
And we already had an animal use it. We've been taking bets on what animal, when it's concluded, is going to use it. But it was on none of our lists that a barn owl would attempt it first. Yeah. A barn owl, Dr. Travis Longo, who's actually working on our project, helping us with light levels, because you don't want too much light. It'll deter the wildlife from approaching it. He was out here one night with students monitoring the light levels, and they saw, this was after most of the girders on the top. So the girders are the platform on top, the support. So for the first time in decades, there was a dark spot across the freeway. And for wildlife, dark means safety, right? So they watch this barn owl circle and fly right over the platform, over the darkness. So wildlife are already trying to use it, although terrestrial wildlife, they wouldn't be able to get up right top. But look at that.
Yeah.
Barn owl already associated the crossing with safety.
Woo! So can you just kind of walk me through, like, when did you guys first meet? Like, how did this even happen? Like, how did you make this possible? Because this is
Well, I was the last partner to come in, really, when you think about it. But I had read the story of P22, like most people, in 2012 in the LA Times. At that time, the headline didn't even name them. They were like, mountain lion makes a home in Griffith Park. And I've worked with the Park Service, not for them, my whole career. So I called up a mutual friend we had that worked down here, and said, can you connect me with this Jeff Sikich guy? And Jeff is such a gracious guy. He took me out on a tour of Griffith Park, like I said. And I was just, most of my career has been spent in places like Yellowstone and Yosemite, and just the idea that mountain lions could even exist here. I didn't even know that. And so I just really wanted to help. I mean, it really dawned on me that these mountain lions are giving it their all. We need to do what we can to help. And then, it was Jeff who really said, yeah, this is the help we need. But it was born of many partners. I mean, Jeff, the Park Service have been doing research since I got involved in 2012, since 2002. Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy I mean, if they hadn't protected this land for decades, we wouldn't even be able to put a crossing. Caltrans, the Park Service had already been working with Caltrans, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
Barbara Marquez and others to look at what was possible. Why don't you talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
those
And
early
so,
days?
I mean, we knew we needed connectivity here. Going back decades when the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, purchased and protected this natural, beautiful habitat on both sides of the freeway. And so we've been working with Caltrans on many road ecology projects throughout the area. And we've tried previously to get something built in this area, a tunnel at first, and we just didn't have the dollars to do it. So it wasn't until we got back from the National Wildlife Federation involved to really spearhead and raise those.
Because government agencies, Jeff can't fundraise, and he shouldn't. He has the research. He can't advocate, but that's where a private partner. And so it's just we have a great partnership. Again, the four main partners: National Park Service, Caltrans, Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, and National Wildlife Federation. And I'd be remiss. It's such a great example of a public-private partnership. Governor Gavin Newsom and his team on one side, and then people like Wallace Annenberg who stepped up on the private side to make it happen. And as we said, we're going to take that model and build more crossings. Woo!
So inspirational. It really shows like it takes a village.
It takes a village.
And people can come together and make this happen.
Yes,
and it's
make the world's largest wildlife
Yeah,
crossing
and
happen. Yep.
it's going to make a significant.
we had a fall.
It's going to make a significant difference to here and for people around the world to keep building these.
And it all started with him. I mean, really, when you think of this cat's legacy and what he did to inspire people's imaginations, it led to, as my colleague Lauren calls this, the world's most hopeful construction project. That's this cat's legacy.
I have one more question for you, Jeff, before
Yes.
we take an audience question. How does it feel to look at this crossing?
Yeah, it feels pretty amazing. Us researchers, we collect data, we publish papers, a lot of times we don't see anything happen. And this is conservation in action, right? And so to see in just relatively short period of time, the research results and science, turn to something, concrete, literally, over the freeway, is truly amazing. And it's, hopeful, as you said that, and really inspiring just to know how many people rallied around to get this crossing built.
Well, that is the ultimate Wild Hope story. So
Yes,
thank
it's
you, Jeff.
hopeful. Woo!
Woo! Thank you, P22. All right.
All right.
I'll
See
let
ya.
you get off on
Okay,
your research. Keep finding those mountain
All
lions.
right, take care.
Do we have an audience question?
We do. Thank you, Jeff. So one of the questions we have is, how do you make the corridor fitting for the animals? You talked a little about mitigating light pollution. Is there anything for sound? Or I know in the episode you talk about native plants. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, and is it all right if I bring in two other people?
Yes, let's bring them in.
Tony and Robert, come
Tony
on
and
up
Robert.
because we are
Tony
really
and
blessed
Robert.
here.
Woo! All right, we just have to squish it in.
Yeah,
here.
squish in.
Squish
Squish
it
in.
next to
We're
me.
gonna squish. I just want to.
Squish, squish.
I just want to introduce them because the question was about design, and unfortunately our Caltrans folks is right on site, but Caltrans worked with these two folks and their whole team. This is Robert Rock of Rock Design Associates and Tony Clevenger, who I'm still fangirling over. Tony is like the god in the wildlife crossing world. They have built crossings all over the world, and if you've been to Banff on this continent, Tony was behind those. So I'm going to let them answer that question because it is taking a lot of design. What's different from a lot of these crossings you might see in rural areas is this is the busiest freeway in the country, or one of the busiest freeways in the country, if not the world. And that does come with sound, light, and other considerations that we have to design for that others don't. In fact, I don't know if you can see, but if you go to 101wildlifecrossing.org, there's a live construction camera. You can see the side sound walls are being constructed right now. But how are we doing this? And Robert, a brief answer. You'll go on for 15 minutes. So, Tony, you start.
I think the question was about design and where this design.
I'll get out of the.
And we know from the long-term research in Banff and even some of the research that's been done in Europe that 50 meter wide or 161 foot, 164 foot wide overpasses are really the standard. This has been the most effective in terms of not only getting important species across, but also wide diversity of species. So this is basically the template for this one here. And then the design, landscaping it, well, it comes from some of the research that's been done about, you don't need 3 meters of soil, you can do a lot less. And that's where Robert Rock comes in and took the design of the actual habitat on top.
And what makes this specifically unique, this crossing here?
Sure.
Sign.
Well, I mean, to speak to the point about sound and light, and we've done things where we've created a different color for the concrete to reduce the amount of surface reflectivity of the concrete by putting an integral pigment into the concrete as it's being mixed. Then in addition to that, with all of that traffic comes a substantial amount of noise from what's called cavity resonance, which is that sound coming off of the friction from the tires of the pavement. So we've done a lot to design sound barriers as part of that are reducing everything down to the frequency level so that we're actually accommodating those smaller species that exist at the lower frequency.
And also, the other thing that's unique about this project, or at least we have a plant nursery, and Robert oversees that along with the Santa Monica Mountains Fund and the Park Service, and again, and the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy. But we were gathering, and not me personally, but folks on the team gathered over 1 million hyper-local seeds that are now being grown. And Robert, we're gonna have soil on top really quickly, right?
Yeah,
I mean, early this year. Mhm.
Hopefully by the end of the year, beginning of next year, we'll start to see soil on top, and all those plants that have been growing from seed collected in about a 5-mile radius from the project site that are being propagated now in the nursery will then be plants that come out onto the crossing.
So this could be not only a crossing, but it could be a home for some animals
absolutely.
as well, because you're
Yep.
matching it to the local ecosystem.
That's really one of the key points, right? It's not just about the apex predator, it's about designing for that entire ecosystem so that we've got something that is self-sustaining, designing all the way from the microbial activity in the soil up to the mountain.
It's for everything from monarch butterflies to mountain lions, I say. And again, it's not just conveyance. The Santa Monica Mountains where we're standing, we're cut off, as Jeff and Seth's National Park Service research shows, from the rest of the world when this 101 went. And we know isolation's not good. And so we are basically reconnecting an ecosystem with this crossing. It's not just about getting animals from point A to point B. And the design that went into it, that these two and their whole teams, it was such a wonder to be in those design meetings and see the meticulousness that Caltrans and these two and their teams did to make it mimic the native ecosystem.
How does it feel to see this being built?
So I'm holding out until the thing is completely.
Yeah, none of us really sleep
He's a
much.
true designer.
Yeah, none of us really sleep much until
Almost
it's
there. When is it going to be done?
We hope 2026. It's looking good. We have right now what you're seeing is obviously you can really see the structure. The next phase, you see those utility lines, those have to get buried. And then we start on stage 2. It's all one structure, but this is construction sequencing. Stage 2 over, I don't know if you can see it, but there's Agora Road is right next to it. Stage 2 comes over Agora Road. And then 2026 will be open for business. Woohoo!
Right.
Well, thank
All right.
you so much for joining us and
Yep.
telling our audience all about the amazing work you do. All right. Do we
Yeah.
have any more audience questions?
Thank you. You answered one, which is what's next. But here's my favorite. This is really important. Is
Oh, I can't wait to hear
Favorite
it.
Danielle question.
what can we do at home? How can we help in other cities or for this bridge? That's such an important part of Wild Hope too. So what advice do you have for us at home?
It's a really good question. And I'll start at sort of the macro level, which is vote for people, vote for elected officials who support wildlife and wildlife corridors. A lot of cities and states now are actually passing legislation around wildlife corridors. Senator Padilla in our state teamed up with bipartisan with Loomis in Wyoming to introduce a federal, wildlife corridor legislation and crossings. So I think the best thing is support people who whether it's local, city, state, federal, who support crossings. But I'll tell you the easiest thing you can do in your own backyard. And with the National Wildlife Federation, one of the best things I think we do is what we call our gardening for wildlife or certified wildlife habitat. You can create wildlife corridors in your backyard. Let's just look at a monarch butterfly, right? When I was younger, they were everywhere. They were in the millions. Now it's like seeing a unicorn in some places. You can create a wildlife corridor in your own backyard by planting your native milkweed. You can put in bird baths for migrating birds, right? Corridors are not all terrestrial. Also, there are other barriers to connectivity. It's not just roads. You have fences up that are impeding movement for foxes or other wildlife. Look at your own backyard, and there are things you can do to help wildlife make a home. You want pollinators, and you don't want mountain lions living in your backyard, but if they're moving through. But you can start with the small stuff. As E.O. Wilson said, it's the small things that really rule the world. And we wouldn't have mountain lions if we don't have pollinators and you know, the small stuff that really does drive the ecosystem. So make your backyard friendly for wildlife. You can go to the Gardening for Wildlife website for tips, but you'll be amazed. Build it and they will come. And that's going to help with corridors. Imagine if everybody in your neighborhood did this, planted native plants, put in bird baths. You'd create a national park in your neighborhood.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be this big, right?
No.
It could be for a mouse.
Could be for a mouse. It could be for, you know, it could be. Bee hotel is one of my favorite easy things to do. But you start looking at scale because the number one threat to wildlife is loss of habitat.
Yeah.
So the more you can make your backyard welcoming to wildlife, the better.
Yeah, and we did an episode called We Are the Ark, all about building native gardens in your backyard, whether you have a window box or a bigger yard. You know, Mary, who's the main person in that, said it's a patchwork quilt of hope. Little tiny patchwork quilts can come together and culminate to a big quilt of hope and corridors around the world.
And listen, I know most people love wildlife. I meet very few people, and that's what I love about wildlife and helping wildlife. In a time where we agree on little, we agree on that. I mean, wildlife crossings and building them are not controversial. Nobody wants the wildlife that we love to experience, whether again it be a monarch or a mountain lion, to vanish. And I think that's, to me, what was so hopeful, again, wild hope about this project is everybody came together around this. So
Yeah, it takes a village.
it takes a village. Yep.
Yeah. How does it feel to be standing here?
You know, I come out here and eat my lunch sometimes in the car. I go back to that day with Jeff, and you know, it's been a long haul. I'll admit I'm exhausted all the time, but it's worth it. I mean, I know what this means. You know, I think of that promise I made to P22, but I also think about the safety, you know, that this is going to mean a future for wildlife here. That, you know, we just had a mountain lion hit within sight of the unfinished crossing, and it was heartbreaking. And so I know that when this is done, at least in this area, that will likely not happen again. And to me, wanting to advocate for wildlife since I was a little girl, I know now I made a difference and made the world a safer life, a safer world for these guys, these mountain lions here.
And, you know, I have been obsessed with animals since I was a kid.
Me too.
I just love animals. It's my happy place. Like, so why should we care about mountain lions? Like, why does this matter? Why are we doing all this?
You know, there's so many layers to that. I think you know, most of us just love wildlife, right? We love seeing wildlife. Whether I love during the pandemic, people were building squirrel picnic areas, right? Or squirrel obstacle courses, right?
That was me, maybe me. It's
Yeah,
fine,
yeah,
don't worry
sure,
about
it
it.
could have been you. But, you know, I think most of us have a connection to wildlife. And I think P22 really showed that. We had so many people get involved in our campaign for this who had never joined an environmental cause before. And I really love that. So I think there's just this like psychological connection that we love. It's something larger than ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But if wildlife doesn't move you that way, and I think it's very few, it doesn't, we are wildlife. I mean, I think it's really important to point this out that we need wildlife. If there are not mountain lions in the landscape, we are not going to last much longer. Everybody has their role in this landscape. Monarchs, if we eliminate bees, right, we're not going to be eaten much longer. So if you don't care about wildlife just because wildlife is just wondrous and it's incredible to experience them, you need them. You need wildlife. We are wildlife. We are all a part of this ecosystem. And once things like monarchs and mountain lions vanish from our lives, even things like black widows and rattlesnakes, which people have, you know, scared, they play their role too. We need each other.
Yeah.
So you have to care.
Beautifully said, Beth. Thank you. Danielle, are there any other questions from you or the audience before we wrap it up?
And Danielle, are you with Cookie Monster today? I mean,
Sadly, Cookie couldn't join us today.
I got P22.
Yeah.
But I really want to thank you both for being here and making this possible. Sarah's put so much work into this series and this episode.
I want to thank her too. It's a beautiful, beautiful episode that literally I get emails. We cried and I cried and I knew how the story ended, as I said.
Yeah,
Yep.
my team is incredible. Big shout out to everyone who's
Woo!
involved,
Yep.
to Red Rock Films, Single Beak Studios. This is a dream. It's a dream to make shows like this and get it out to the world. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah. But you know, we have a new episode that dropped today on Wild
Oh, what
Wolf
is it?
website.
What's
It's
it
called
about?
Stork Sisters. It's about this incredible group of women in India saving the Hargila stork.
Oh,
So check it out.
I can't wait to watch
Yeah,
it.
and it's just good hope spreading out to the world and inspiring people, and it just feels good. So thank you, everyone. We really
Thanks for
appreciate
being
it.
here. Thanks to Jeff
Yeah,
and
thank you
Steve.
so much. And like, subscribe, share this, and we will keep you updated. Goodbye, Mountain Lions.